President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the launch of the Solidarity Fund last year. It would be a social enterprise whereby ordinary South Africans, companies and even foreign donors could assist in the endeavour to combat the impact of the coronavirus. Much of the fund spending focus has been on providing medical equipment like ventilators as well as PPEs, and now more recently the focus is on the vaccine drive.
We have spent around 1.8 billion rand. That has been on ventilators, on PPE, on essential medical equipment, and obviously in support of the vaccine program.
But the fund also focused on other important areas of social impact.
The other major area of focus for us was in the humanitarian space, where we provided food parcels and food vouchers to over 400,000 families in all 9 provinces, in both urban and rural areas. And we've supported over 300 NGOs supporting victims of gender-based violence. And then the other major pillar of the fund has been our communication and behavioural change campaign, which has reached all South Africans in all languages. And that has been a very significant effort run over the last 18 months.
Being entrusted with the donations of people who mean well and who would expect proper impact in terms of what's delivered to those in need, the fund says its governance levels are above par, with an independent board, subcommittees and high levels of accountability.
Every single one of our projects, once they're completed, we issue a detailed report, which companies, which entities received the money, what was the impact that was had with that money, so that all South Africans can, there's full accountability on the part of the fund in terms of where the money is spent.
The fund's work in helping push through the Department of National Health initiatives during the pandemic and its assistance to communities is certainly welcomed and shows that when South Africans put their hands together, great strides can be made. But some argue that perhaps things could have been done differently.
Perhaps initially it was justifiable that they allocate more into health interventions such as acquisition of ventilators, PPEs, and so on. I would have loved that they spend more, up to 70% or more of the budgeted amount onto call it humanitarian intervention, be it food parcels, food relief, and other things that find resonance with the ordinary people, particularly the poverty-struck people in communities of this country.
The Solidarity Fund hasn't just focused on COVID-19. Recently, it's also sought to assist those adversely affected by the recent riots in KZN and Gauteng with food and medical supplies. Asked whether the fund could get into the realm of assisting small businesses that were affected, the answer for now is a clear no.
The issue of the kind of support of businesses, obviously there are tens of thousands of businesses that have been impacted by this unrest. And this is a problem which is much too big for the fund to engage with at this level. It's possible that with more resources that this is a problem that we could focus on, but at this stage, our only focus is on food security and medical supplies.
Small businesses were badly hit by the riots. A survey done on behalf of Beyond COVID indicates that small businesses say they need around 16 billion rand to get back on their feet. But as things stand right now, it looks like the government is only able to stump up around 4 billion rand. And on top of that, there are many businesses that didn't have insurance. There's strong advocacy that says the government will have to play a role in catalysing activity among SMEs, with the possibility of the private sector then being able to step in.
As much as government wants to help, that their coffers are not as full as we would like. Government does have a role to play, so there's an important catalytic role that government needs to play in terms of almost putting in the fire lighter that gets the fire started. But the fuel, in terms of the coal, that will get the fire going, will need to come from private sector with help from NGOs. And the way to do it is government, through very judicious application of funding, can help create, what I've called big small business, or the small business with the profile of the risk profile of the large corporate. And if government can help do that, and we've got some really good ways of doing this beyond COVID, then it will actually create the impetus for private sector to put their money in at much, much lower risk than otherwise.
Once most South Africans are vaccinated and the Solidarity's funds run out, there's a good chance that it will have served its purpose and shut shop. But there are calls for it, or something like it, to become a permanent feature to assist with the country's general societal woes, with Katishi arguing that the private sector should maintain the same positive energy to assist that it had when the fund was first started last year. However, he stresses that the state will need to do its part.
But that doesn't mean that the state should not consider solidarity tax as an option to assist in raising the necessary funds to tackle the pandemic, but particularly to deal with socio-economic conditions that are dire and are facing millions of our people, as demonstrated by the recent riots.
The Solidarity Fund indicates that it's had more than 400 people working for it, mostly volunteers, while some 100 companies have offered their staff for secondment to assist. It indicates that some 70% of its spending has gone on the SMME sector, while 30% of its spend on PPEs went to black-owned businesses. Nompumelelo Sisiba, SABC News, Johannesburg.